Hello everyone, welcome back to our modelled writing videos. So if you've been with us before, then you'll know how we will structure these videos. If you're new here today, then welcome. It's really nice to have you along, and we will be looking at task 2 questions today. So task 2 are the longer essay style questions. You'll be given 40 minutes to answer them, and it's your job to write a minimum of 250 words. But there is no upper limit, so that's good news for us in a way. As long as you're hitting that minimum, that's the most important thing. Okay, so today we'll be looking at 2 questions and we'll be planning the answers and then doing the write-up as if we were in the exam itself. So I'll be showing you ways that we can approach these questions. Hopefully along the way, if you're following along, I'll talk about any tips and advice on how to get those top band scores, which is what we're looking for. So let's begin then with our first topic of the day, and it's going to be free healthcare. The question: in many countries, the government provides free healthcare for all citizens. Do you think this is a good idea? What are the advantages and disadvantages of free healthcare? Okay, so we're being asked for our opinion here. And we've got an advantages, disadvantages question. Now, this can be slightly overwhelming because we've got looks like two different tasks here. But I'm going to blend my opinion, whether is it a good idea or a bad idea, in with the advantages and disadvantages. So let me show you how we can do this in terms of a plan. So for example, for this one, I'm going to argue that it is a good idea, and I'm going to talk about the advantages in with the second paragraph. I like to do my opinion in the second main body paragraph, just because I think it's a nicer way to structure the essay. You can present the other side, in this case, the disadvantages, in the first main body. So you have your introduction. Let me show you the introduction in your first paragraph. Then you present the other side, in this case the disadvantages. Then in paragraph 3 you weave in your opinion with the side that you're agreeing with. And then of course we have our conclusion. So that's how I'm going to structure this essay here. So the first paragraph will be all about the disadvantages. Okay then, so what are the disadvantages of free healthcare for all citizens? Well, for me, I'm just thinking about, so in the UK, we have free healthcare, the NHS it's called. And there can be areas which lack funding and therefore affect perhaps the quality of maybe the quality of treatment or the time that is spent with patients as well. I know that that's a problem because there's so much to think about, that there's so lack of funding. Maybe they're short on staff, so they've got to the GP's workload is far more. So this affects the quality or the time that patients receive. This then leads to potentially an overloaded system in terms of there's not enough staff and there's lots of patients. I think we could expand on that by using the NHS as an example there. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the advantages And of course, we can talk about the equality side, the fact that everyone is getting seen, there's no discrimination. Leads to a more equal society in general. It can help, it has a ripple effect. It can help with other areas. For example, if there's free healthcare, then the quality of life goes up overall, and then education goes up. Maybe that would inspire education to be more affordable, perhaps free, things like this. So, as a society, it just builds everyone up. Okay, so our conclusion then, it is a good, we're just going to restate that it is a good idea to have free healthcare for all. And there are, and despite the disadvantages, the advantages are more significant, maybe. Or okay, so we've got our two paragraphs, and we're just going to restate everything in the conclusion. Right, I think that's good. As long we're just making sure that we're answering the questions. So we've got our opinion, and then we've got our two sides here. Okay, let's now go to the write-up, and we are going to start in our introduction by paraphrasing the statement. In many countries, the government provides free healthcare for all citizens. How could we restate that in or maybe in a variety of nations, the leaders offer services such as, or maybe offer services connected to health for all of society. In a variety of nations, the leaders offer services connected to health, connected to maybe health services. It's hard to paraphrase. We don't have to paraphrase every word, but that's okay. I think in a variety of nations, the leaders offer health services for all of society. So we're going to portray both sides, advantages and disadvantages. So we can say now what we're going to do. So for the purpose of this essay, I will display both the benefits and drawbacks of such a situation and agree that it is in fact an ideal approach, and agree that it is in fact an ideal approach. For the purpose of this essay, I will display both the benefits and drawbacks of such a situation and agree that it is in fact an ideal approach. Okay, I think that's good. So let's go into the disadvantages first of all. So this is our first main body paragraph, and we're going to open this up with a nice topic sentence. So when it comes to everyone receiving We didn't put the free here. Health services free of charge for all of society. Maybe health services at no cost, we could say. Okay. Always good to go back, double check. When it comes to everyone receiving, maybe when it comes to the community receiving healthcare, receiving care free of charge, there are a few downsides. Okay. The main one being as it is run by the government, it is directly affected by funding. Okay. The main one being that as it is run by the government, it is directly affected by funding. Therefore, if there is a lack of resources, the system will suffer, and so will the patients. Okay, so now we're just going into our explanation here. Now we can go into our example and explain this a bit more with the NHS. This can be seen with the NHS in the UK. There are significant shortages of staff. We can do a nice full stop there. There are significant shortages of staff, and the employees who are performing their role are overstretched and overworked, we can say. This leads to the patients receiving have I used receiving? Don't think so. Receiving delayed or questionable care, in some questionable treatments in some cases. For example, ever since the hospitals were impacted with COVID-19, cancer sufferers have experienced delays and and sometimes misdiagnosis, maybe. Cancer sufferers have experienced delays with, maybe we could say, with chemotherapy and Maybe we can just leave it at that. Delays with chemotherapy and surgery, perhaps. Okay, let's read this back and see how it's sounding. When it comes to the community receiving care free of charge, there are a few downsides. The main one being, as it is run by the government, it is directly affected by funding. Therefore, if there is a lack of resources, the system will suffer and so will the patients. This can be seen with the NHS in the UK. There are significant shortages of staff, and the employees who are performing their role are, we could say, there are significant shortages of staff. And the employees currently working are overstretched and overworked. Overstretched, stretched, and maybe exhausted. This leads to the patients receiving delayed or questionable treatments in some cases. For example, ever since the hospitals were impacted with COVID-19, cancer sufferers have experienced delays with chemotherapy and surgery. Okay, I think that's good. I don't think we need to go into another point there. We've explained that to a nice full capacity. So let's go into the advantages now, and we're going to weave our opinion. It's going to be a bit of a bigger paragraph, and we're going to include, yes, our own thoughts there. So despite the lack of money being invested into state-run health care, it is clear that it is clear that society should uphold this principle regardless, as it should be considered a pillar of maybe modernity, for example. Despite the lack of money being invested into state-run healthcare, it is clear that society should uphold this principle regardless, as it must be considered a pillar of modernity. We could use a nice question, actually, maybe. Without it, how many people would suffer? Without it, how many people would suffer? We can use the USA as a case study, and the fact that, and the issue of citizens. I mean, when they experience, if they don't have insurance and they experience illnesses, then it can bankrupt them. With no insurance, experiencing, and the issue of citizens with no insurance experiencing medical issues, medical problems that spiral them into into their finances becoming maybe crippled, or that's maybe cripple them financially. It is known that paying for healthcare affects the poorer and minority groups in minority groups more. Therefore, to have it at no cost promotes equality. I want to go into the advantages now. Equality and promotes equality as an integral value. Okay, so we need to uphold it because it's the value. Another plus side is without discrimination. Without discrimination, everyone can be treated, and as a whole, society can benefit, can reap the rewards of a just system. The quality of life will improve, and this could inspire change in other areas, such as education. Okay, let's read this back and see how it's sounding here. Despite the lack of money being invested into state-run healthcare, it is clear that society should uphold this principle regardless, as it must be considered a pillar of modernity. Without it, how many people would suffer? We can use the USA as a case study and the issue of citizens with no insurance experiencing medical problems that cripple them financially. It is known that paying for healthcare affects the poorer minority groups more. Therefore, to have it at no cost promotes equality as an integral value. Another plus side is without discrimination, everyone can be treated, and as a whole, society can reap the rewards of a just system. The quality of life will improve, and this could inspire change in other areas, such as education. Okay, I think that's good. We've just read back through it, double checked the grammar and the ideas there. So we're using the USA as a contrast there in our example, and to say that this promotes one thing and then free healthcare can lead to these advantages. Okay, let's wrap this up in our conclusion. So in conclusion, although investment into such services is necessary and can lead to oversight, or can lead to a lack of funds. Free healthcare is necessary in order to uphold a successful nation. Free healthcare is necessary to uphold a successful nation. How can we round this off nicely? As everyone is as, maybe we could say there is no, if we use discrimination, yes, as there is no, or maybe equality have we used equality? We don't want to repeat ourselves too much. Equality, yes. As everyone is equal, is treated as an equal. In conclusion, although investment into such services is necessary and can lead to lack of funds, although investment into such services is, we want to say not necessary, maybe maybe fluctuates and can lead to lack of funds. Free healthcare is necessary in order to uphold a successful nation as everyone is treated equally. Free healthcare is necessary as the main attraction is that everyone is treated as an equal. Okay, I think that's good. Let's now count the words and see how we're doing. Okay, so this essay comes to a total of 319 words, just over the 250 minimum there, and no one's, as long as you've hit that, no one will, yes, there won't be any marking down for that, which is what we're aiming for. So yes, hit the 250 and then that will be okay. But you can see how we've approached this today. We've got our introduction with our paraphrasing and our structure for the essay, then our one side, then our opinion, weaved in with the second side, and then our conclusion as well. Okay. I think that's good. I'm just checking that we're making sure we're answering the question and not going too off topic there. Right, so let's go into our second task of the day, and that's going to look at this idea of competition or cooperation. The question: some people think that children should be taught to compete, while others think that cooperation is more important. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Okay, so we've got two sides. Children should be taught to compete, while another side thinks cooperation is more important. And this is an opinion question here, so we want to, it's the same actually as the last one. It's just a bit well, not quite the same, but it's quite similar, how it's not advantages and disadvantages, but we do present both sides and then weave in our opinion. So what is our opinion? Should we go for competition or cooperation? I'm going to go for cooperation for this, and we'll present the compete side there. Okay, so children should be taught to compete. What can we think for this one? Well, healthy competition is important. And also learning how to lose is a valuable lesson that many children struggle with, and adults actually, everybody struggles with that. So if they can learn it from a young age, then that is important. It's a good skill for perhaps target focused focused lines of study and work. So when they get older, they'll have this could lend itself to different jobs, like, I don't know, recruitment, that springs to mind. And it can be quite lucrative, this, if you're quite a competitive person and you use it in the right way, this can bring financial rewards. Okay, so let's think about cooperation. This skill is much more important. Well, not important, but it's more widely used, whereas a child competing well is quite a niche area of that whole child's life. It's quite a small area, whereas cooperation, you need it for everything. So it's a vital skill, let's say. It's a vital skill. Even if you are competing, say in football, you're against another team. Well, you're still in a team though. Even if you are in a competition, you are probably still in some sort of team. So unique cooperation is still very important. When you cooperate with people, they can add to what you are doing. So your skill set combined with other people's different skill sets, so you can benefit from other skill sets when you work together. Okay, so the conclusion then, we want to give our opinion that cooperation is more essential. And then we'll elaborate on that in the essay itself. Okay, so we've got our two sides. We'll weave in our opinion again. Let's go to the write-up. And we want to paraphrase this statement here. Some people think that children should be taught to compete, while others think that cooperation is more important. I could say maybe, it is argued that young people should approach situations with a competitive spirit. Now, good tip there. If we're not sure how to paraphrase compete, we can change the word form. Actually, we could say should approach situations viewing others as rivals, maybe. While others think that cooperation is more important, whereas the other viewpoint believes that working well or successfully with different people is more essential. It is argued that young people should approach situations viewing others as rivals, whereas the other viewpoint believes that working successfully with different people is more essential. Okay, so in this essay, we're just going to lay out what we're going to do. I will present both sides and display why teamwork is clearly more is clearly more vital, maybe. In this essay, I will present both sides and display why teamwork is clearly more vital. Okay, so I think that's good. Let's now go into our other side, which is going to talk about competition. Okay, so on the one hand, it can be seen that healthy competition has its place in society. So there is important skills to be learned from it. It does have a place in society. Okay, let's go into this a bit more. In this scenario, kids learn how to lose, which is difficult, maybe, which they can take really hard, or which they can struggle with how to cope. Kids learn how to lose. Maybe we could say which can be kids learn how to lose, which is a difficult situation for a young child, and it is critical that they can cope with their emotions and bounce back. In this scenario, kids learn how to lose, which is a difficult situation for a young child. Therefore, it is critical they can cope with their emotions and bounce back, which is the most important aspect of competition, of competing, maybe. For example, in team sports, maybe a loss in the school's cricket tournament can provide inspiration for that team to return next time to return next time after having had extensive, or maybe after having worked on their weaker areas, leading to a stronger team, stronger overall team. Okay, so that's our main point here. Okay, so we're talking about that it does have a place in society. We've used an example. Maybe we could go into another just small example of how a competitive spirit can help children in the future. this facet, which means aspect of a young individual's personality can aid them in the future as well. With many career paths looking for a competitive spirit that will reach the goals, reach targets. For example, or for instance, recruitment, which can be a very lucrative line of work with this attitude. Okay, let's read this back and see how it is sounding. On the one hand, it can be seen that healthy competition has its place in society. In this scenario, kids learn how to lose, which is a difficult situation for a young child to cope with. Therefore, it is critical that they are. I've used that later, that's okay. Therefore, it is critical that they can cope with their emotions and bounce back, which is the most important aspect of competing. For example, a loss in the school's cricket tournament can provide inspiration for that team to return next time after having worked on their weaker areas, leading to a stronger overall team. This facet of a young individual's personality can aid them in the future as well, with many career paths looking for a competitive spirit that will reach targets. For instance, recruitment, which can be a very lucrative line of work with this attitude. Okay, so my argument, my opinion now is going to focus on yes, competition and competing is important, but even cooperation is more important because even in competing, you still have to cooperate either with a team or maybe with yourself. So that's my line of argument here. So whilst there is no denying one has to learn how to beat others or how to be up against others. Even during maybe working together, maybe we could say cooperating. Actually, I don't think we've said that yet. Cooperating with yourself and others is more is a more valued skill as it is essential in every aspect of life. Not just, yeah, we'll go into detail. Okay. What would happen if you were, we can use a nice question again, to pit, we could say pit yourself I might need to think about that phrase a little bit. Against, we can say about your family and friends. If everything is a competition, Pit yourself against your family and friends. What would happen if you were to pit yourself against your family and friends? This could lead to turmoil. Therefore, it is strikingly more important to work together for children to learn morals of teamwork from elders, maybe. Okay, let's go into an example. In this case, different skill sets can use their know-how. Different skill sets can fill in areas in which you lack. For instance, technology knowledge. Where the combination of different expertise produces a higher valued outcome. We could talk about sports as well. So even if we take sports as an example, it is, yes, it is a competition, but more often than not, you are still a part of a team that requires good communication. So what is cooperation? It's good communication, empathy, kindness. Kindness quite similar to empathy. That requires good communication, empathy, and team spirit. We've used spirit and a common goal. Let's read this back and see how it's sounding. Whilst there is no denying one has to learn how to be up against others, cooperating with yourself and others and the community is a more valued skill as it is essential in every aspect of life. What would happen if you were to pit yourself against your family and friends? This could lead to turmoil. Therefore, it is strikingly more important for children to learn morals of teamwork from elders. In this case, different skills can fill in areas in which you lack. For instance, technology knowledge, where the combination of different expertise produces a higher valued outcome. Even if we take sports as an example, yes, it is a competition, but more often than not, you are still a part of a team that requires good communication, empathy, and a common goal. Okay, I think that's good. Let's wrap this all up in a conclusion. So, in summary, whilst wanting to win over everyone else should not be demonized. The older generation must, or we can say it is clear that the older generation must place more importance on viewing your peers as valued members and not people who you need to beat. In summary, whilst wanting to win over everyone else should not be demonized, it is clear that the older generation must place more importance on viewing your peers as valued members, importance on passing down wisdom, that viewing your peers as valued members, maybe we could say the importance on passing down wisdom, that viewing your peers as valued members is imperative. Maybe, and learning from them. And learning from them is imperative. Let's just read this again one more time. It is clear that the older generation must place more importance on passing down wisdom regarding viewing peers as valued members and learning from them. Passing down maybe values or lessons. Passing down lessons about viewing peers as valued members and learning, and the fact that learning from others is imperative. Okay, I think that's a bit better now. So let's count the words of this one. Okay, so this answer is a bit of a bigger answer. It's 349 words here, which is, yes, quite a bit over the 250 minimum, but you can see how we've structured this one and weaved in our opinion into the second one. So you're welcome, if you've been following along at home, you're welcome to adapt this to your examples, your opinion, but I think it's really important that you've seen how we've done that today. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for coming along today, and I hope that it's been useful. If you have any questions or comments, then do let us know, and we'll see you in the next video.